if you want to get better at chess, and if you play the Sicilian opening and you want to get better at playing the Sicilian opening, then you need to check out this game that I'm about to show you guys. It's a game that was played in 1959 between young Bobby Fischer, who was only 16 years old at the time, and Mikhail Tal, who was only 22 years old, in the candidate tournament in Belgrade. So this was a high-stake tournament, high-stake game, because the winner of the tournament would end up gaining the ability to challenge the world champion at the time, who was Botvinnik, I believe. And in this game, Bobby Fischer was playing with white and Tal was playing as black. And Tal absolutely dismantles Fischer in the Najdorf Sicilian in 33 moves. So if you want to understand and see how he did it, then stick around until the end of the video. This is a very instructive game. So let's get straight into it. Fischer plays e4, Tal plays c5, then we get knight f3, d6, d4, pawn takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and here Tal plays a6. And this is now a Najdorf Sicilian. a6 is the move of the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian. It's a very common variation that is often played at the top level of chess, and it's a very interesting variation. So here white has many moves, but Fischer is very well known for having played bishop c4 quite often in his career. Actually, he played it so much that this variation became known as the Sozin-Fischer variation. It was named after him. And here what is white doing? Basically, white is preventing black from going e5 straight away, because he can play knight f5, and black cannot play g5 and attack the pawn that is supporting the knight, because the bishop is covering the square. So here black has to play e6, and he's creating a nice pawn formation against this bishop. This bishop is now biting into a wall. Fischer plays bishop to b3. We have bishop e6 and f4 by Fischer. Short castle by Tal. Queen f3. And now Tal plays queen c7. And already here, white should be thinking about initiative, playing active moves, and thinking about playing something like f4 already, which breaks down the center of black and start moving forward, start gaining initiative. But okay, he decides to play short castle. So we get b5 by black, with the idea of putting the bishop on b7 and putting pressure on the e4 square. So b5. And now Fischer decides to play f5. But this is a bit too late, because it allows black to go for this move, b4. And after b4, basically, Fischer went knight to a4. But this is not necessarily the best move. The best move actually might have been to take the pawn and sacrifice the knight to gain activity like this. Of course, you cannot take the pawn because the bishop is defending it from far away, so you have to play king to h8, and you're sitting there and telling black that basically you have more initiative, and this is worth sacrificing a piece, even though probably this is kind of hard to play for white. So that's why he didn't go for it, and he took the more conservative route of playing in this position knight to a4. But now that the knight is here on a4, that allows black to go e5, and the knight that was sitting on c3 could not jump to d5 anymore and cannot harass the queen. So now he goes to e2 with the knight, and Tal plays, as planned, bishop to c7, putting pressure on the e4 pawn. Fischer defends it like this by putting the knight on f3. And Tal keeps bringing new pieces into the game. Fischer plays bishop e3. And here a very nifty move by Tal. Bishop c6, which leaves space for the queen to go to c7 and add an attacker to the e4 pawn. So Fischer has to defend it by playing bishop to f2. We get queen to c7 and rook e1, defending the pawn. But now the problem is that everything is perfectly lined up for black to play the move d5. The very thematic move of the Sicilian. And this is a very, very nasty idea. So white takes the pawn. We get knight take. Fischer tries to get his knight back into the game, maybe potentially preparing some f6 idea. But Tal plays knight to f5, pinning the knight to the queen. And here Fischer plays c4. c4 might seem like a strange move, and maybe it is, maybe c3 was better. But the idea of c4 is that, of course, if you take, it kind of helps white, because white is able to recapture and bring the knight to the defense of the other knight, and back into the game. So you don't really want to take that pawn. And the idea is, first of all, controlling the d5 square and making way for the bishop to come back into the game through the c2 square. But here, try to pause the video and find what move next Tal plays, because it's a very interesting move, very instructive move. I'll give you a second. But here Tal plays g6, very provocative move, and Fischer took, and now it gives Tal the ability to play f5. And this knight is pinned, it cannot escape at the moment, so Tal is trying to grab it with the pawn and win a piece. But Fischer, of course, thought about this, and here he saw that he could play g6, g7, attacking the rook. But Fischer, very cold-blooded, simply took the pawn. We get knight, queen to g3 check, getting out of the pin. King to h8. And now Fischer moves the knight to c5, forking these two pieces. But no problem, Tal simply took. Fischer took with the bishop. Tal took again, liquidating a lot of pieces. He took, but actually Tal at the end of this exchange is the one on top. Why? Because the f5, f4 knight and the bishop are coordinating very nicely to attack the g2 pawn. The g file is open, so this rook is going to very quickly come into the game, and there is going to be massive pressure on white's king side. So alright, Fischer tried to fight back, and he played queen to e3, attacking this pawn. But very simply, Tal defended the pawn, and now what do? Actually, there is no way to defend the g2 pawn. This pawn is going to be lost no matter what. If you try to play something like g3, this simply does not work because of knight to h3, and the king has to go to the f file, and basically f4 is going to be a devastating blow to white's position in this situation, so you simply cannot do that. And you have basically no other pieces that can come back and defend this pawn. So what did Fischer do? In desperation, he played rook to e2. He's sacrificing the exchange, but he prefers to give away the exchange instead of losing this pawn. So Tal took, Fischer took, and here white do you play as black? Tal played a very Tal-like move, sacrificing this bishop for the pawn, but actually it's not really a sacrifice because this knight is undefended, was undefended behind the bishop, so there's no really any way to, I mean, black is not really losing a piece here. So basically white decided to take this pawn, counter-attacking the queen. And here, black played check. White has no choice but taking the pawn, the bishop, sorry. And here, what do you do as black? You don't even recapture the knight if you are Tal. You simply play rook g8, check, and now the king is in a huge trouble. Like, the king cannot escape the checkmating threat. So, I mean, if you go here, like, it's checkmating once. So Bobby Fischer tried to play this, and what did I do? He didn't even grab the knight, just bring the queen to g7, and now he's threatening checkmate by putting his queen on h6. And what do you do here? There is actually no way to stop the checkmating attack incoming. So Fischer tried to play bishop to g1 with the idea that if you check, he can come here and defend like that. But here simply rook to e6, bringing the remaining rook into the attack, and now there is nothing more to do. White is completely lost in this position, and Fischer simply resigned the game. So this is a very nice win by Tal in the Najdorf Sicilian in 33 move against young Bobby Fischer. The instructive bit in this game was setting up the move d5 and playing it at the correct moment. That's really the key idea you have to be on the lookout for when you play this type of Sicilian. Hope you enjoyed the games. All the moves will be in the description of the video. So if you like my work, and if you liked the video, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you feel like it. And that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.